Today is the 22nd of the June 2023, and we would like to continue our lessons of fractions. Yesterday we started to look at fractions. Please have a quick look at what we did yesterday. It will help you a lot. I said fraction is a wide topic, so we are going to use a few lessons to cover that topic, and I'll explain some of the concepts to you. Okay, here today the first thing we want to look at is using fractions to solve problems. Okay, it's not always they will give you like solve or simplify or evaluate where you have to use fractions or maybe simplify to the lowest form. There are times fractions questions can come in word form, and you might have to read it and make meaning of it, and then you have to quickly note what they want you to actually do. Okay, so let's have a look at this. In a tourist group, there are 15 women. Okay, so 15 women and 20 men. What fraction of the group are women? Leave your answer in its simplest form. So straight away you should be thinking about fraction, because they said what fraction. So your answer will be a fraction, and you have to leave it in a simplest form or in the lowest form. Now let's look at what I did here. Okay, you have women, which is 15, and you have men, 20. So the tourist group is 15 women, add 20 men, which is a group of 35. So the total people on this tour, both men and women, are 35. You have to know that. Now they said what fraction of the group are women? Now you have 15 women. So to find the fraction, they didn't say percentage. Okay, here they said fraction. So you have 15 women out of 35 tourists. Okay, so now this is your fraction, of which you have to find the lowest form. I hope it's clear. Now this is not in the lowest form, okay, because 5 and is can go into 15 and can also divide 35. Okay, so this is why we did multiple and factors earlier. So here 5 is a factor of 15 and 35. How many 5s do we have in 15? 3. How many 5s do we have in 35? 7. When you are doing an exam, or working under pressure, it's very good you know some of your multiplication, because the simplest, the more you know, the easier stress it will take off you. Some of these questions might come in the non-calculator paper, so you might have to quickly look at both numbers and see which one what will be the common factor here. So now in the lowest form, okay, it's 3 out of 7. So it says, what fraction of the group are women? Leave your answer in its simplest form. So the fraction of the group that are women is 3 out of 7. And we've left it in the simplest form because we can't find any more numbers except one that can go into 3 and go into 7. Okay, if it were 3 out of 6, then we can break it down further. But 3 out of 7, that is where we end, and that will be our answer. Now, equivalent fraction. When we're doing mathematical symbols, I showed you the sign of equivalent fraction. Here, equivalent fraction might just mean similar or same. Same, okay? They are same when you reduce it to the lowest form. So for instance, look at these boxes I've made here. They are not to scale, but assuming they are the same boxes, the first one, I've split it into 2 and I've shaded half of that, which is 1 out of 2. The second one, which I assume is the same box, not to scale, I've split it into 4 parts and I've shaded half of it. So I've shaded 2 portions out of 4. The third one, the same box, not to scale again, half of it, I've split it into 8 bits. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have here 4 out of 8. If you look at the shaded bits, again not to scale, they have the same area. Okay, so look at this. This is half. This is 2 out of 4. This is 4 out of 8. So just by looking at the boxes, you know that it's the same area. Now let's look at the fractions. Half, 2 out of 4, 4 out of 8. You can see that they are all multiples of 2. So if I reduce 4 out of 8 to the simplest form, I'll get half. 2 out of 4 in the simplest form, I'll get half. So look at the equivalent fractions I've listed here for you. Half will be the same as 2 out of 4 and will be the same as 4 out of 8, will be the same as 18 out of 16, will be the same as 16 out of 32. All these are fractions. Its lowest form is half, but as we increase the multiples, they are different numbers at the numerator and the denominator, but all of them have its lowest form as half. So we can write fractions as equivalent fractions. This is handy because assuming I'm working with 16 over 32 in a non-calculator paper, I can reduce this to half and put it back into the equation so that it will be easier for me to multiply. It's easier to multiply 1 and 2's than 16 and 32. Okay, that is the rationale to knowing this kind of stuff. Okay, so we can write the same fractions in similar ways, but we can also reduce the complex ones, higher figures like 16 out of 32, 32 out of 64 to half, which will be easier for us to multiply and divide. I hope I'm making some sense to you today. Okay, so now simplifying fractions and putting fractions in the lowest form. That is just what I've talked about. But I have an example here for you. Okay, 14 out of 21. It looks bulky or big figures if it's in a lot of is in a question. But look at 14 and look at 21. The common factor of 14 and 21 here is 7, because 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, so if I divide 14 by 7, I'll get a 2. If I divide 21 by 7, I'll get a 2. So by using the common factor 7, I've reduced 14 over 21 to 2 over 3. So 14 over 21 and 2 over 3 are equivalent fractions, but in the simplest form, this is 2 over 3. Simplest form also means that there are no common factors. So apart from 1, there is no common factor for 2 and 3. So I can't reduce it any further. But when you look at 14 out of 21, 7 is a factor of 14 and also a factor of 21. That is why I can reduce it to 2 over 3. Hope I'm clear on that. Okay, now let's compare fractions, and we would do more of that tomorrow. We can compare fractions by seeing which one is the smallest or which one is bigger than the other by just changing the denominators. You remember we did something similar in decimals. We said you add zeros and make all maybe 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places, and then we'll start ordering it from the lowest to the highest. It is similar here, because if they give you different fractions like 1 out of 3, 1 over 3, and 1 over 4, 3 over 5, 7 over 8, you wouldn't know which one is the highest or the lowest. But you will quickly know if you are able to find the common multiple of all the numbers in the denominator and use it to put all the fractions into the same denominator. What do I mean by that? So for instance, look at 3 over 5 and 1 out of 4. Okay, I'm going to find a multiple for both of the denominators and then try and use that to make my fractions easier so that I can compare both. Okay, so first of all, look at 3 over 5 carefully and look at 1 over 4. Okay, 20 will be a multiple of 5 and 20 will be a multiple of 4 if you look at here. So straight away I'll put an equal to sign and write under my denominator 20 and then 20 there. But what did I do to 5 to make it 20? I multiplied by 4. So if I did that to the denominator, I have to do that to the numerator. So I'll multiply the numerator of this fraction by 4. So if I multiply 3 by 4, I'm going to get 12. 5 by 4, I'm going to get 20. If I reduce 12 over 20 and divide each by 4, I'm going to get 3 out of 5. So now 3 out of 5 equals 12 out of 20 becomes equivalent fractions. All I did is to change the denominator to 20. Now let's look at 1/4. Because the multiple of 5 and 4 is 20, okay, 10 is not a multiple of 5 and 4, okay, but 4 can go into 25 times and 5 can divide 24 times. Okay, now the question is, what did I do to 4 to make it 20 here? I multiplied by 5. Okay, so since I multiply the denominator by 5, I'm going to multiply the numerator by 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. So 1 over 4 now becomes an equivalent fraction of 5 out of 10. So assuming they ask me to compare 3 over 5 and 1 over 4, straight away the number with the smallest numerator will be the smallest fraction. So here I can say that 5 is the smallest number and is less than 12. So 5 over 20, because that will be 5 portions out of 27s. And this is 12 portion out of 20, the same 27s. Sorry. So What I have just done is 1 over 4, if I'm comparing, is less than 3 over 5. So 1 over 4 is smallest, assuming I'm arranging it from smallest to the highest. 1 over 4 is the smallest. 3 over 5 will be the largest fraction. So just by doing this, I can compare both fractions and see which one is the smallest and see which one is the largest. This is very good if we want to add fractions as well, because we'll have to find the same denominators, which we'll have a look at tomorrow. Okay, we'll have to look for multiples of both fractions so that we can change them to the same denominators. Okay, I hope I have clarified some things for you today. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.